Spartans! Welcome to the branches of linguistics,
where every episode
is a new adventure
waiting to unfold. I am Adrian M. Slige,
and I'm Heselin May M. Porto, your guide in learning this lesson. Together with our team, let's go!
I am John Raven Piacenza,
I am Julian Elemendes,
and we are going to discuss the social
Linguistics.
I am Vergara Eliza B, discussing to you about the comparative linguistics.
I'm Sophia Janine Ipapot, and I'm the one who will tackle about computational linguistics.
I'm Jillian Ilan Dicho, and I will be discussing the historical linguistics.
I am Daneline H. Tulupan, and I will be able to discuss to you the stylistics linguistics.
Hi everyone! It's me again, Daneline H. Durupan, and I am going to discuss to you about stylistics linguistics. If you don't have any idea, allow me to share my insight and perception about stylistics linguistics. So the first one is we need to define what is stylistics linguistics. Stylistics linguistics is the study of language and literature. It involves interpretation of style and tones of language. Meaning to say, how are we going to use a particular language through the use of its tone. The main focus of it is establishing principles which can account for the choices made by an individual or any group in their use of language. It involves the analysis of different features of styles. For example, cognitive. Cognitive is the ability to apply intellectual energy to a task to achieve its completion. Secondly, persuasive, likely to persuade a person or believe to do a particular thing, just like a speech. Third one is interrogative, having or conveying a force of a question, likely when we are asking in a question in a particular person. It is different from one another. Why? Because we use language in different tone. So always remember the use of language that we've been used. The other functions can be paired as below. The first one is the pathic language. It is included here greetings, leave takings, and so on. For example, how are you? I'm fine. See you later. The second one is emotive language. It is the expression of feelings and attitudes. Just like for example, I feel disappointed. I'm so excited. Did you get it? So, that's how stylistics linguistics became different from the other branches of linguistics. Always remember that before we say something to a person, we must know first the tone that we are going to use on a particular statement to avoid any conflict, confusion of a person that we are talking to. So I hope you learned something and also kindly apply it in a real life situation.
Today, we're diving into an exciting field shows us how languages evolve over time. By understanding historical linguistics, we can see how languages develop, why they change, and what this tells us about cultures and societies over time. So what exactly is historical linguistics? Simply put, it is the study of how languages have evolved through time to reach their current state. Think about English today versus Old English. It is almost like looking at a different language, and historical linguistics helps us understand these changes. But why do languages change? There are several factors: the physical, psychological, and social. We humans adapt our language to meet changing needs in communication in our environment. This results in changes in sounds, grammar, and even the meanings of words over time. For example, in English, the word nice used to mean foolish in Middle English, but today it means kind or pleasant. Such shifts happen because language constantly adapting to how we use it. Language change can be influenced by different causes, including immigration, where the speakers of different languages interact. The second one is the geographical distance, which create unique dialects and new languages over time. The third one is the linguistic pressure from dominant languages like English today. The fourth one is the invading armies, which historically brought new words and structures. And the last one, the solidarity among groups, where unique slang or terms strengthen group identity. The historical linguistics has also goals. First is to describe and explain language changes. Second is to reconstruct the history of languages and group them into families. Third is to develop theories about why languages change. The next is to understand the history of speech communities or group of people who share language norms. And the last goal is to study the origin and changes in words, also known as etymology. To wrap it up, the historical linguistics gives us a fascinating look at how languages are connected, how they have grown and changed, and what this tells us about human societies. And that's all about the historical linguistics.
Let us all proceed in the computational linguistics. Computational linguistics is defined as the simulation of language by the use of computers. It is the study of spoken and written language in computations and programming. Computational linguistics is an interdisciplinary branch of linguistics which is concerned with the study and perception of spoken and written language from a computational perspective. There are many applications of computational linguistics in the real world. Here are just few. The first one is machine translation, using artificial intelligence to translate from one language to another, such as from Chinese to English using Google Translate. The second one is chatbots, a software program that simulates human conversation via spoken or written language, usually for customer service purposes. For example, companies such as Shopee and Lazada have a live chat available that can be used in inquiring or requesting a refund of a product. The third one is knowledge extraction, creating knowledge from unstructured and structured text sources. An example is Wikipedia, which is the product of random editors. The fourth one is natural language interface. These types of tools allow humans to interact with our devices' operating systems using spoken words. For example, there are Siri, Alexa, and Google Assistant. The last one is sentiment analysis. It identifies emotional tone in text or spoken language. For example, is Grammarly. We are also familiar with Killbot, a grammar checker and a paraphraser software program, which is an example of a computational linguistics.
We are now moving on to the comparative linguistics. But first, let us define what is comparative linguistics. It is the study of different languages and their respective linguistic systems. One of the sought-after branches of linguistics that is involved in the study of identifying similar and dissimilar properties between different languages of a common origin. From the definition, we can easily understand that comparative linguistics from the word itself compare, meaning to say, it is just comparing different languages from others and their respective linguistic systems. It also involves identifying similar and dissimilar properties. But how does it work? That's the question. So I have here an idea on how it works into two different ways. It is comparing languages and finding connections. Comparing languages, like what I have said earlier, linguists tend to look at different languages and identify similarities and differences between them. After that is where finding connections start to happen. By spotting patterns, they can figure out which languages might be related, meaning they might have a common ancestor. For example, we as a Filipinos have similarities with those who speak Spanish, like the words silya, escuela, and trabajo. They just differ in spelling. Overall, comparative linguistics is a field that explores the relationship between languages and their historical development. By comparing different languages, linguists can uncover patterns, similarities, and differences that reveal how languages have evolved over time.
It is the studies that practical application of language knowledge in various fields because it seeks to solve issues related to language, such as teaching, translation, language policy, and communication in multilingual setup or multilingual settings. Applied linguistics is often presented as branch of linguistics. It is focused on using language study to address real-world issues. On the other hand, applied linguistics finds solutions to issues which are important for cultivating understanding, cohesion, and adaptation in diverse societies. It is essential tool for understanding how language functions or how language, the purpose of the language, because it's not just an communication tool, but it is a core element of culture and the social interaction.
Social linguistics, the study of language and society, the study of the impact of society on language in linguistics. It is sometimes referred to as the sociology of language, although that label suggests a greater concern with sociological rather than linguistics explanation. Whereas social linguistics are principally concerned with language, or to be more precise, sections of the population, known as informants, are then tested to see the frequency with which they produce particular variants. In particular procedures using participant observation in which observers immerse themselves in communities rather than relying on random sampling for the collection of data have yielded more refined accounts of linguistic behavior. Society has a great influence on our language and the way we speak. With this, we have the sociolinguistic, which refers to the study of how language interact with society, examining how social influence shape language use and linguistic patterns. This field explores the impact of societal factors like age, gender, ethnicity, and social class on language variation and change. While often called the sociology of language, sociolinguistics differs by focusing on how language is influenced by rather than simply reflecting social structures. In order to have a wider knowledge of this, sociolinguistics often gather data from groups within a population, called informants, to see how frequently certain language features or variants are used. A common approach is the participant observation, where researching involve themselves in communities to observe language used in natural settings. This method, as opposed to random sampling, gives more detailed picture of linguistic behavior, showing how social factors in, implicitly shape language in real context.
One example of this is the code switching, which happens when someone switches between language or dialects depending on whom they're speaking to. For instance, we tend to speak differently with our family compared to when we are with our friends. Moreover, this also examines the accent and choice of words in a particular community. By observing these language variations, social linguists learn how different social factors shape how we speak in everyday life.
So good day everyone. Today we are going to tackle about the psycholinguistics. So what is psycholinguistics? Psycholinguistics is the study of how language and the mind interact. It explores the mental processes that allow humans to plan, produce, understand, and respond to speech and written language. In other words, psycholinguistics asks how the brain process language. This question dives into the relationship between the brain, or the biological structure, and the mind is our conscious experience of language. Most psycholinguists distinguish two types of processes. The first one is the perceptual processes. These processes are responsible for registering or recognizing language when we hear it, spoken, or see it written. For example, when someone says a word, the perceptual processes helps you identify the sound as language and recognize what word it is. The second one is the comprehension processes. After recognizing words or sentences, comprehension processes helps us interpret the meaning. This is where the brain assigns meaning to what we've registered. For example, after hearing a sentence, your mind understands what's being said based on previous knowledge, context, and grammar. So to sum it up, psycholinguistics is the field that tries to answer how our mind managed to turn sounds and symbols into meaningful language, diving into the complex relationship between the biological brain and our mental experience of language.
Linguistics, or the scientific study of language, encompasses a wide range of subfields that investigate various aspects of language use, structure, and development. These branches include stylistics, applied linguistics, historical linguistics, comparative linguistics, computational linguistics, psycholinguistics, and sociolinguistics, each contributing unique insights into the nature of language and its function in society. In conclusion, these are branches of linguistics which cumulatively add a whole new dimension to understanding the nature of language, the very core of human existence. They unveil how complicated language is and what it has in common with literature, cognition, society, technology, and history. Through all these windows, linguistics gives some real insights into communication, cultural identity, and evolution.